Today we are going to start with our first lab. Okay. Yeah. Someone talked about the lab access in the class. Okay. So let me show you. Let me show all of you. And please don't activate your labs right now. Okay. You will have to wait. I'll show you how the labs looks like.
Excuse me, sir. I have shared my the wireless adapter model number yesterday. We were talking about this.
Yes. 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 Actually, I couldn't look into it yesterday. I'll look into it tonight for sure. So because I had another class going on.
No problem. Thank you.
I'll do that. Just I told you about my new laptop. I don't know if you were there.
No worries. It's totally understandable.
So I was telling all of you, right? So I got my new laptop, and the company was giving my other laptop for just 100,000 INR, right? So uh, and then I sold it somewhere else, and I got like 20,000, right? So
Oops.
right. Yeah. So yeah, big companies, Amazon, Flipkart, here, yeah, they do that kind of stuff. So I've been just testing my new laptop for some time, for some days, because gaming laptops basically don't have a really good battery backup, right? So I've just been trying to make it go through that battery drain test.
Totally agreed, and I've been like that's been a headache for me like since I got this laptop.
Yeah, so I have so it has an RTX 3050 GPU, and I was
Yours, like the Mac one.
no, not this one. Not
Acha, okay.
the other one, the one that
Oh,
recently. So I was working on something. I was just creating virtual machines, and I thought that today I would take the class on that, on using that laptop, but I still did not configure everything. So I was thinking that I would take the class from that laptop, and I was configuring some virtual machines, trying to set up a VM called Commando VM from Microsoft, and then I also set up their VM, and within an hour, its battery, was went from 100 to 0. So I thought that maybe there is some problem. So I tried to recalibrate the battery, and now it's working a little better. But I still applied for a replacement. Let's see if the replacement gets approved, and I'll either replace it or maybe I'll test it for a few more days. And if it works properly, then yeah, it's fine. I mean, I've had gaming laptops before as well, but uh, battery getting finished in an hour is like, even if you're not playing games, right? Battery get
like तब तो नहीं हो सकता. Like mine goes like 3:30, 4 hours. After, like if I'm playing games, इतना चल जाता है ये.
mine
And
went just a hour
हाँ जी,
problem.
नहीं फिर तो battery issue है. अच्छा, like when you share that other system, जब आप उस दूसरे वाले से करेंगे, is it possible कि commando VM का like if you can show the installation, क्योंकि मेरे को like I tried doing it but somehow I'm unable to, like even I followed a lot of articles online but वो नहीं हो रहा successful.
Don't worry, I'll do that for sure. I'll show
ठीक
you.
है.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So let me just show all of you. Still have a few more minutes till we start our class because others are going to join. So let me show you the lab environment.
So just a curious question, like is it for you as well, like ये 6 months वाला रहता है that, or is it like for us we get this voucher from networking, so
For
that is why.
I get the same issue because I have to get my labs renewed every 6 months. So even the team,
अच्छा.
what am I doing with these labs? Am I sending them somewhere? No. So it's just that every time the lab access expires, I give them a call. I tell them send me another lab. They're like, you just took a lab from us 6 months ago. I said that these labs work, so can't really do anything. Uh, whereas CompTIA has a different pattern. CompTIA keeps their labs valid for 1 year.
Okay.
That's the case.
So before like networking, when I like inquired like CPH directly, so they said that 1 year they would be giving, but I guess instruction would not be which I actually needed, which is why I joined. So instruction wala part lacking है यहाँ पे उनके साथ.
Right. So I'm just going to share my screen back again.
So one more question before we proceed. So initially, when you entered this domain, like cybersecurity domain, so like make them like scratch wala keh raha hu phase when you entered that. So how much time do you think it would like really take, even if we do a lot kind of blogs, read a lot kind of blogs, medium as you said. So even though like hands-on practice and everything, will somewhere like 6 months, 8 months, 1 year would suffice, do you think?
It took me like 8 months, right? And from scratch, even though my degree, my master's is in computer networking and cybersecurity. But what happens is whenever you go for master's degrees at big universities, they teach you theoretical stuff and research based stuff, right?
Right.
They don't teach you what is required in the industry. So that's a big issue. So that's why I used platforms like Walnut, TryHackMe, and others, and I got to work with these platforms. I spent like 6 or 7 hours every day on these platforms, right? And
Okay.
how I started getting better. I mean, I wouldn't consider myself an expert. It's just that, see, cybersecurity is a field where you can never become an expert,
I
right?
mean, not just computer cybersecurity. I guess the computer world itself is so vast that it would take years and years.
Right, exactly. So basically, the approach should be like academia, right? Especially in the research community, where what happens is if you're working with someone who has even 10 years of experience, you as a beginner could give them a better, uh, better idea. So what happens is every time I take a batch with my students, I always, learn something new from them, right? So that's what I'm saying. This is a field where everyone learns from each other. So the first batch that I took at Networkings, there was a student, right, who used to work with SIEMs. So I've worked with SIEMs, but I worked with Curadar. I worked with OSSIM from Alien Vault. I've not worked with Splunk. Okay, so that person helped me out. So when I was teaching SIM, so he was even giving me real world examples of how Splunk works and this and that. So I did my own research, and when I had to teach the course next time, I did a really good job because obviously that person helped me out. So it is always like it's always like someone contributing, right? So when you contribute, I learn from you, you learn from me. So that is how it works, right? But what happens is like there is a problem with my lab access right now. Don't worry about it. I'll show you how the other labs looks like.
Yeah, sure.
Right. That's why I.
Excuse me.
Yes, Avinash.
Yeah, actually, now whatever we are practicing in TryHackMe or DVWA, it will be really useful for the real scenario, real world experience where when we get the job in this work. Or it will be only like a demo discussions or any different work experience will be how it will be real work experience.
DVWA is like a completely beginner based lab. If you have to learn something that will if you have to work on something that will work in real world scenarios, right? That's try hack me and hack the box. Okay. So
I mean, in the real job experience also will be same like that same sequence only, or it will be any different state will be there.
It will be similar. I won't say it would be exactly the same, but it would be similar.
Similar. Okay. But with this practice, we can crack the any interview.
Yes, you can crack any interview. There would be.
Yeah.
See what has happened is I'll show you. So I'll show you the labs for. So SIEM Sharp is security incident and event management tools, right? So Splunk is one of them. So what happens is whenever we work in the IT industry, the part and parcel of the IT industry is basically the logs that get generated, right? So if you are working for a company, how would they figure out that you completed a task successfully?
Everything is logged.
Right? Everything is logged. So events are logged. Okay, so we have to figure out which events are, normal events, which events can be fatal for the environment, right? So we
Yeah.
add those logs, we try to understand how severe a particular event is, and for that reason we use SIEMs. Okay.
Yeah. So generally in interviews, I attended 1 or 2 interviews. Generally, first thing they'll ask you, what about your daily activities? As a fresher, how we can explain, maybe if I put the 1 year experience, how I can explain for them as a initial stage.
Okay, so I would suggest that, currently, what domain are you working in, Avinash, right now?
Actually, I'm in instrumentation engineer working in Kuwait.
Okay, so basically, what you can do is you can correlate, you can start correlating, because as a beginner in cybersecurity,
Mhm.
right, obviously you can talk about the labs that you have built for your personal use, uh,
Mhm.
the achievements, right? For example, if you have any on any bug bounty platforms, these are the kind of activities that you can showcase. Okay, these are the achievements that you can showcase on your resume and during an interview. Along
Mhm.
with this, try to look for internships. So try to look for internships in cybersecurity. So there are some companies in India which will, happily take you as an intern. Obviously, as an intern, they pay you less, but that's the only way to get into cybersecurity in India. Otherwise, if you are a network engineer already and you have worked with firewalls, and then it will be very easy for you to become a cybersecurity engineer, right? Because you already have those prerequisites, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So
Okay.
the thing is that as a person who's transitioning from a different field to cybersecurity, initially it's difficult. To be very honest, see, I'm not going to lie, I'm not going to tell you that this is 100% job guarantee course, because that doesn't happen. Okay, so that is different. And even if there is 100% job guarantee course, what will they do? They'll take proxy interviews, and then even if you clear it, after the end of the interview or after you clear it, what is going to happen? You'll have to pay 10% of your salary for a year. So that is not something that I would recommend, right? Absolutely not. So as a beginner, you will face a lot of roadblocks. And see, if you don't face them, you won't understand the importance of this field, and you won't be able to learn new things, right? So my suggestion to everyone who wants to be in cybersecurity is apply for as many interviews as you can. Because what would happen, don't fear rejection, just understand what do they ask in those interviews, so that when you attend those interviews, you'll be able to understand the requirements for most of the companies, right? And if you don't crack first 10 interviews, I'm sure you'll crack the 11th one. I am 100% sure. Are you getting my point?
Yeah, I get it. With this networking background, we can easily enter, not easily, at least we can try to enter into the cybersecurity field with
With
this networking background.
background in networking, it
Hmm.
becomes at least 30 to 40% easier.
40% is, but not 100, not like a 80% chance will not be there. Depends on the recruiter. Yes.
100% is never there. 100% is never there. 100% is only there if you have good contacts, or if you approach, recruitment agency and they'll help you out, right? So, but if you're applying everything by yourself, then look for open source projects. I'll talk about a company called the Safer Internet Project, and how to use it to basically get some meaningful experience and also get a job.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
But we can tell that one previously I worked in the network and now I want to switch career to the cyber security. So I'm applying for like this job. So I can tell
Yes,
that I have worked like this in the only online attacks like that. I can explain to the interviewer.
you
Is
can.
it a good idea or it is not
It's
acceptable?
a great idea. It is absolutely a great idea. So the thing is that whenever you apply for jobs, no matter which country you are in, try to correlate. Obviously, they are going to verify your work experience, but they're not going to verify line by line. So you have
Okay.
those buzzwords. For example, if they are looking for experience in Nmap or Nessus, so what you can do, you will write that as a network engineer you use Nessus, but you assisted the cybersecurity engineers in the working of Nessus, and you created subnets for them where they could test the tool out. Are you understanding? So you
Yeah,
have
yeah, I'm
those
understood.
things. Understood?
Yeah, got it. Okay, thank you.
Okay. So everyone, this is what the lab environment looks like. Okay. So this is what the lab environment looks like. And the reason why I don't take up the labs in the classes is because, see, everything is given here. Log in into PT1 Kali machine. Okay, I've logged in. I'm going to click yes. Open a terminal. Done. Step 2. What is the next step? Click on Kali menu. Open information gathering. So it feels completely robotic. It feels completely mechanical. You will understand how to use these tools. But the question is, where do you use these tools? Will you be able to understand the scenarios where you have to use these tools? No. So up till now, I've got only two complaints from students, just two students who told me that you're not teaching according to the syllabus. I told them, okay, if I teach you according to the syllabus, it will take me just 15 hours to complete the course. You will get the certification and that's it. But do you think that you will get a good return on investment? Obviously not, right? You will never get a return on investment because see, this is all you have to do. What is this tool? Harvester. What does Harvester do? Gets email, subdomains, open ports, banner, blah, blah, blah. This is all about Harvester. This is Google Doc. You launch Google Docs. See, I could have given you a PDF where you could have, from which you could have done all of this, right? But does it make sense? Be honest. Does it make sense? The course would have been completed in 15 hours. How much money did you pay? For those of you who are living in India, more than 30, I believe, right? For
Yeah.
those, right, you paid more than 30K. So that is what I'm saying. See, the course has to be in such a format that at least when you finish the course, you should be happy that yes, I spent 35K on the right course. I did not just get a course where they taught me how to clear the certification and that's it. Okay, you clear the certification, but when they ask you, but when they ask you how much did you get the, for how much like how much experience do you have, or can you set up virtual labs by yourself, you won't be able to do that because all you have experience, you on the only experience that you have is you go to this lab, browser based lab, click on the instructions and that's it. What if I give you something else? Will you be able to research? No. What if I tell you use a Google Doc to find out all the important documents from year 2022 on all the Indian government websites? Will you be able to do that? No, because all you have experience on is this. So these are supplementary. Do not consider them as primary labs. Okay. So that's the reason why I'm telling you we will activate these labs once we have finished 50 to 60% of our course. Okay. Not right now. Got it. So this is what the labs would look like, completely browser based and with all the instructions, whatever you have to do. So for clearing the exam, definitely good labs, but for upskilling yourself in the industry, not that good. Okay. So yeah, Shab, don't worry. I have a student who just cleared CEH. He's a college student. I'll one day I'll invite him to our class and he'll tell you about his experience and what he's doing in order to get a job. He recently got a job in cybersecurity as a beginner. Obviously, it was tough for him. It took him like 8 months, right? But you'll learn from that person. Yes, Kashaf, we'll get the same steps in CH practical. In CH practical, you don't need to have an 8 GB RAM laptop with this or that. You don't need to install Kali Linux. You just need your browser. That's it. Even an i3 processor, even an i3 second gen processor with 2 GB of RAM will work. Okay. Okay, so let's get started. Now, today's lab is about obviously pen testing. What is pen testing? Pen testing and ethical hacking, both of them are same terms. Ethical hacking is just a slang. Okay. And we are not here to learn the difference between a white hat hacker, black hat hacker, this hat, green hat, blue hat. See, ideally there are only three types of hackers: gray hat, white hat, and black hat. Black hat is the bad person who's going to use their techniques for malicious purposes. Gray hat is someone in the middle. White hat is the good hacker. Okay. We don't have to become white hat, black hat, blue hat, this hat, that hat. Okay. We have to become pen testers. Okay. So CEH, this certification is going to teach you pen testing. Okay. Along with pen testing, other things as well. But the main focus is on pen testing, right? So the first lab is Pickle Rick. So what happens is, like I said, in cybersecurity, since cybersecurity is a very difficult field, you have to make it interesting. When you learn it, you have to make it interesting. So how do you make it interesting? By gamifying it. Okay, by gamifying it. So if you have to learn something, if a kid has to learn something, what do they make? What do they make them do? They try to make the lessons look like a game, and this is exactly what we are doing. This is going to help us get hooked on to cybersecurity. After 5 or 6 classes, I don't have to tell you, you need to work on this, you need to work on that. Most of you will be motivated. Most of you will be self motivated. You'll be working on these labs by yourselves. Okay. So this is the first lab, and now why is its name Pickle Rick? So basically, it's based on an animated series called Rick and Morty. You don't have to watch that series in order to work on this machine. You just need what? You just need to take on the lab. That's it. Okay. So as soon as I go to this machine, I will write. I will click on this button, Start Machine. Yes, it's available on Netflix. That's what I'm saying. You don't have to watch the series in order to solve this lab. Okay. If you have watched Rick and Morty, it's a good thing. But if you haven't, you don't really have to watch it. Okay, that's what I'm saying. Understood? किसी को
Yes,
देख
sir.
नहीं है. So what will I get? I will get an IP. Okay, and I'll show you the IP that you will get. Yes, the first thing that we need to connect to is the OpenVPN. I'll tell you why. Because the first thing that we have to do is look at the IP. So every machine on TryHackMe is basically available for an hour. But what you can do is you can extend it as well. You can extend it as much as you can. But yeah, within 2 hours, you'll be able to finish a machine. If you're a beginner, it would take you 2 to 3 hours. But as soon as you go ahead, you'll be able to complete it within an hour. So this is the IP that we get. Okay. Now, if I just go to this IP, if I try to ping it, I won't be able to do that. Why? Because it is a private IP. What is it? It is a private IP. Okay. If you don't know what private IPs are, let me just show you. So in computer networking, what happens is we have public addresses and we have private addresses. So in IP addresses, we have the concept of classes, class A, B, C, D, and E. We only work with A, B, and C, right? So in class A, there is a range which is known as, which starts from 10.0.0.0 to 10.255.255.255. So all these addresses within this range are private addresses. 172.16.0.0 to 172.31.255.255 private. So let me ask you this question: who else has a address in the 192.168.0.0 network. Okay, answer this question. When you go to your router's dashboard, when you have to access the default gateway, which IP do you enter?
0.1.
192.168.0.1, right? Some of you will enter 192.168.1.1. So it depends, right?
We
Now,
can always change that default gateway.
so what does that mean? That all of us are in the same network? Not really. It's just that these addresses are private addresses, which are significant within the network. Okay, which are significant, which are important within the network. When the communication has to take place, our public IP gets used. So we do that via a technique called NAT, network address translation. Okay. So this IP that we have, in order to use it, we have to initiate the Open VPN connection first. What do we need to use? The Open VPN connection first. So if you remember from the first class, what did we do? I'll show you once again. I went to access. After going to access, I chose a server, and after choosing a server, I downloaded the configuration file. So the configuration file is in the downloads directory. Let's see where I am right now. So I am in /home/Kali directory. Which directories are present here? I'll type ls. Where is this file? In the downloads directory? So I'll go to downloads. I'll see if there is anything inside this directory. Yes. So this is my file, acap95 ovpn. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write sudo openvpn acap95 ovpn. I let this work. So what are we getting here? These are logs. ये क्या चीजें हैं सारी जो हमें दिख रही हैं, ये logs हैं, right? So after we get these logs, the last log which is important is initialization sequence completed. What does this mean? It means that we have connected to the server. Okay. Now you don't have to exit this. You have to let it run. You have to let this tab run. So what will you do? Instead of opening new terminals again and again, just open new tabs. Okay. You open new tabs. And in order to make sure that you are working on the right tab, just rename these tabs so that you will find out by reading the title itself. So what is the first tab doing? The first tab is for OpenVPN. So I'm going to name this tab OpenVPN, which means that I can close other tabs, but I don't have to close this tab. Got it? Then once I have the machine, I try to reach it. I try to reach it by pinging it. Okay. So which means that the machine is active. So if you are becoming a hacker, you have to focus on the fundamentals. Okay, what is a hacker? What is a pen tester? So all these terms are just used to describe people who are inquisitive in finding out how things work. Are you getting my point? So a hacker is someone who's basically inquisitive enough. So if I don't give you a tool, if I don't give you a tool called Nmap or this or that, can you find out which operating system is it by just pinging the device?
No.
No.
Anyone who wants to say yes? So हम operating system भी निकाल सकते हैं. We can also figure out the operating system. How? So if TTL, there is a field called TTL. If this TTL field is from 60 to 64, what kind of machine is it? It is a Linux machine. And if it is 120 to 128, it's a Windows machine. होता क्या है कि every operating system behaves differently during computer networking. It doesn't mean that something that is running on Linux won't work on Windows. It's just that a few parameters change. So by looking at this TTL value, I can tell you that this is Linux machine. If you don't believe me, no worries. I'll show you how this works. So we have pinged the machine and we know that it is active. Okay. It is reachable. Now, what should be the next step? The next step is to just hack it. That's it. What do you think? What do we do?
Open ports.
So we have to find out what is running on this IP, which means we have to look for layer 4 information. Okay, we have to look for layer 4 information. How will we do that? We will do that by using a tool called Nmap. Okay, Nmap is the tool which we are going to use here. Okay, so Nmap stands for Network Mapper. What it does is it helps you in basically figuring out which ports are open, which ports are closed, which ports are not, which ports are filtered, which means that they might be open, they might be closed, but network mapper is not able to understand how they work. Okay. So Nmap is a layer 4 tool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the IP and I'm going to hit enter. So what did I do exactly? I used the default I used the default Nmap scan. How does this work? How does default Nmap work? So by default, Nmap looks for which kind of ports? TCP. Okay. TCP uses three phases. Whenever it is active, it uses three phases. The first phase is known as handshake. So when you had to take these classes, what did you do? You straight away enrolled for the course without even inquiring for anything? Or you ask them, hey, do you offer this course? How much is it for? Who's going to teach this course? Is that person qualified enough to teach this course? Has that person worked in this domain? Right? So that's like the handshake. So what happens initially is you try to find out what kind of services the server is offering. So if you are the client and this is the server, you will send a message called SYN. It's called the SYN segment, synchronized message. Server replies back with
Select.
SYN and ACK. So the server is going to acknowledge the message sent by the client, and then it is going to provide the details. So, hey, my name is this and this is my IP, this is where I'm situated, I am on a Linux machine or I am on a Windows machine, and these are the ports that are open. These are the services that I'm providing. And what happens finally is you have to acknowledge that,
App.
right? But when Nmap works by default, the client will not send this ACK message. The client will start the handshake. The server will tell the client, okay, I'm providing these and these services, and I'm not even going to send the ACK message. That's all I'm doing. So when you have to buy a course, what do? You don't just finalize the deal with every organization, right? You ask them, you call them, okay, so what courses are you providing? They'll tell you these are the courses that we are providing. And then what will you tell them? Okay, I'll get back to you, right? I'll get back to you soon. So this is what exactly happens with Nmap, right? Send a SYN message, they send a SYN ACK, and you don't send an ACK, because if you send an ACK, that will complete the handshake. If they complete the handshake, logs will be generated, everything is going to happen, and later on you'll get caught. Okay. But here, what did you do? They sent us in, you sent us in, they sent us in, that's it. You said, I don't want to complete the handshake. Okay. That is exactly what happened here. So when you run nmap space IP, okay, so first of all, it can take an IP address, it can take a URL, it can take anything that you want. Okay. It can even take a range of addresses, it can take a whole network. So I wrote nmap space IP address, and by default it scans for the first 1,000 ports. That's why you are getting a message 998 closed ports, connection refused, because other ports are not working. Only 2 ports are active. One is SSH, the other one is HTTP. So this is the default Nmap scan. And you just don't run Nmap once. See, I don't know if you guys have heard that story that whenever you have to cut down a tree, you don't just spend most of your time cutting the tree. You spend 70% of your time sharpening the axe, right? Similarly, in hacking, 70% of your time should go on what? Should go on reconnaissance. What we call it? We call it recon as well. What is recon? So, for example, if me and Akash have to fight, we haven't met each other at all. He doesn't know where I live. I don't know where he lives. I don't know how tall he is. Right? He doesn't know, how tall am I? What kind of, uh, do I know any type of fighting techniques or not? So what do I have to do? I won't just straight away jump on the mat with him. I will first do a recon on him. I try to find out, where does Akash live? Okay, how old is he? What is what are the stats? Okay, and then I try to gain more information. So this is called recon. So whenever you have to attack your enemy, you perform recon, right? Obviously, some of you would say that, when you play Call of Duty, what do? You don't take a cover, you just go ahead and start killing people. Yeah, that's a good approach if you are on drugs. But if you are on a real battlefield, what do? You perform recon. Recon is reconnaissance. You try to find out where they are, what are they doing. Okay, you look for weaknesses, right? So most of the people give up after running one Nmap scan. You have to run as many Nmap scans as possible so that you can save time later on. Okay. There are usually, well, I don't follow that model at all, but according to EC Council, according to MITRE attack framework, according to a model called cyber kill chain model, there are 5 phases of hacking. Okay, there are 5 phases of hacking. The first one that we are focusing on is recon, trying to get to know our enemy. We had no information at all about our enemy, and now we are getting some information, right? So this is recon, RECON. See, Nmap, running Nmap is basically all you're doing is running a command, right? But what you can do is you can make a script for yourself. But see, different targets will reply differently. Are you getting my point? Every target is not the same. That is why even if you create a script, that will not be a all-in-one solution. Are you getting my point? Are you getting my point, Kashif? So what do? We try to look at what is running, and then accordingly we create our game plan. Okay. Yeah, cyber kill chain, they have 7. Like I said, I don't focus on these models because even the hackers do not focus on these models.
So it's more like ये वही जैसे अपना OSI model and TCP/IP हो गया, right? It's just that different ways.
different ways.
Is it?
Some have,
अच्छा, okay.
I think उसमें फिर in cyber kill chain they add lateral movement and they add another one, right?
So it is recon, weaponization, delivery, exploitation, installation, command and control, and then actions on objectives.
Here it's simple. The first is recon, the second one is enumeration.
Hanji.
ठीक है, the third is
Gaining access,
gaining access. Fourth one is maintaining access.
maintain access,
Fifth one is
clear the track.
clear the tracks, right?
Okay.
But देखो ये सिर्फ एक methodology है. This is a methodology, right? Usually, what do they tell us? If we have to make a career in cybersecurity, you need to have these 3 certifications. But has it ever worked out for everyone? No, right? It might work out for 20 people, 100 people, but it does not work out for everyone. So you might have to, after gaining access, you might have to come back and perform a recon again because what you did, the exploit did not work, right? So yes, on paper, these models look very good, right? But in reality, everything changes. Practically everything changes. Same goes for our cars. They offer us, they tell us that this car is going to perform this good. It's going to offer a mileage of 15 or 16, right? Or 20 or 25. However, when you actually drive it on the road, it's much different, right? So these models look good on paper. If you are reading a blog, yes, okay, I have to run this, model. I have to do this, I have to do that. But what happens later on? In reality, everything changes. So Burp Suite is required to run manually. Yep, we actually see Burp Suite. I'll come to Burp Suite. Don't worry. Burp Suite has 2 versions, free and pro version. So by running is like if you're trying to look at the requests and the responses, then you have to do everything manually. But then if you're just trying to scan a website, so they have a scanner as well. Don't worry, I'll talk about that as well in the upcoming classes. Okay. So I performed an Nmap scan, but did it tell me anything about the operating system? No. Did it tell me anything about the version of the service? No. See, saying that all Android phones are vulnerable, that's wrong. Saying that Samsung is vulnerable, that's wrong. You have to be specific. Got it? You have to be specific. For example, a problem is there in the latest version of Android on this particular patch and it affects only these and these models, right? So that's the correct statement. Are you getting my point, everyone? You have to be specific.
Yes.
So saying that I can hack HTTP, I can hack SSH, that's a vague statement. Don't talk like that, right? So how can we be specific? By gaining more information. So I run another Nmap scan. So I run a version scan. So version scan is through which I will be able to find out the version of the services. I'll be able to figure out the version of SSH, version of HTTP. And while this is running, and one more thing, see, for some of you, the Nmap scan would take 5 minutes. For some of you, the same Nmap scan would take 10 minutes because what's happening is it is occurring through a VPN connection, right? So although VPNs are secure, but they're slow. Okay, most of them are slow. So what do you have to do in this scenario? Do not panic. Okay, it will eventually work. So while the scan is running, I'm not going to waste time. I'm going to show you one more thing. I'm going to take you to a directory.
Is there a way we can check this when the scan is running?
What? I'm sorry, where the?
Can we check the progress of the scanning? while it's running.
Yeah. This was a very small scan, so it took us like 37.50 seconds, right? The previous scan took 32.28 seconds. But if the scan is verbose in nature, so verbose, what do you understand by verbose? Verbose is verbose. Verbose means detailed. Okay, so a detailed scan could take 5 minutes. A detailed scan could take 8 minutes as well, right? So let me show you. So like I said, if you spend most of your time on recon, अगर आप अपना सबसे ज़्यादा time recon पे लगाते हो, it will be very easy for you later on. So right now, since we are working with Nmap, I'll be talking about all of this. When we go to some other tools, I'll talk about that in detail, right? So in the labs that you are working, in the I labs, they have just mentioned that this is Nmap and how to use it. But where to use it is not given there. Okay, so it's like an instruction manual. How to use these tools, how to work with these tools. But where do you use them tools? When do you use them tools? What if that tool is not working? Which other tool should be used? That is not given in the that is not provided in the iLabs. Yes, we'll be learning that as well, Rahul. Don't worry. So what I'm going to do is I will go to this folder called scripts, right? Like I said, Nmap, even though it is 22 years old, more than 22, I think it was released in 1995, it is still very much significant. So what are these files? They have an extension NSE. Okay, NSE stands for Nmap Scripting Engine. What does it stand for? Nmap Scripting Engine. So these are pre-written scripts. Okay, these are pre-written scripts that you would use according to the ports. Okay, for example, currently the ports that are open are two. One is HTTP, the other one is SSH. So I got to find out that the version of SSH is Open SSH 7.2 P2. P2 means patch 2 for Linux. Apache HTTPD 2.4.18 Ubuntu. So I cannot be, I'm not completely sure that this is Ubuntu, but yeah, one thing that I'm sure of is this is Linux. That's it. So I have different types of scripts which will automate my work so that I don't have to waste time looking on Google, looking on this website, looking on that website. It is going to save my time. All right, so what do we have here? We have Nse scripts. So for example, we have scripts for HTTP. So currently HTTP is running, and if there are any pages where authentication is required, so on a website where you think there will be a sign up form or a login form, you can use this script. Okay, if you have no information at all, then you can maybe try to look for front page. So what I'm telling you is, for every service there are a lot of things available, but since this is the first class, it will take time to get comfortable with this tool. Right now you guys don't know what to do. Okay, some of you might know, but some of you don't. So what should we do in such a scenario? I'm going to run a script, right? So Nmap Script 1. So this is a complete beginner based script. So whenever you are hacking or whenever you are pen testing an IP and you right now don't have much information about the services and what kind of attacks are possible on these versions, you run a generic script. So it will look for the most common vulnerabilities on that particular IP. Okay. So I'm going to write nmap minus minus script 1 10.10.183.120. Okay. So what is this? Minus minus script 1. 1 means vulnerability. So it's going to look for common vulnerabilities. Now this takes time. Currently it is 75% complete. Let me hit enter again. It's still on 75. So what happens is, as a beginner, use this one script. Okay. And while this is running, I'm not saying that straight away we are going to proceed and we are going to start exploiting these ports or services, but we can just check them out. Coming to SSH, can anyone tell me where is SSH used? Why do we use SSH?
सर दूसरी मशीन को रिमोटली एक्सेस करने के लिए सिक्योरली.
Perfect. Access a machine remotely, right? Through GUI or through terminal?
सर टर्मिनल और GUI both.
SSH terminal में चलेगा. SSH won't work on GUI.
सर कुछ
User
टूल है ना.
IP address.
GUI के लिए what will you do? GUI के लिए
सर मोवा एक्सट्रम एक टूल है जिसे हम यूज कर सकते हैं.
क्या चीज?
सर मोवा एक्सट्रम टूल सॉफ्टवेयर है, उससे हम SSH कर सकते हैं
ठीक
जो
है.
GUI बोलते हैं.
But initially what do you do? SSH जब connection बनता है, how does it work? It works through terminal, right?
टर्मिनल. यस सर.
Later on you can extend that capability, but originally SSH is for what? SSH was built for terminal. ठीक है. ठीक है. So in some cases we can even extend it for GUI, but initially the connection starts through SSH. Okay. So
यस सर.
SSH requires what? SSH, for running SSH हमें क्या क्या चाहिए?
सर फर्स्ट SSH जिस यूजर को करना चाहते हैं, लाइक रूट या लोकल यूजर, तो @ and IP.
After we add it, sir, what happens next? It asks,
It asks for the password.
So password.
right? So we have just started working on this machine. Do we have any username and password? No, right?
No sir, no.
अभी तो कुछ नहीं है. So it would be a waste of time if we start exploiting SSH because we don't have username, we don't have a password. Now some of you can say, but we have tools, we have word lists, we can start brute forcing. It doesn't make sense,
No.
right? कोई sense नहीं बनती. देखो, you have Facebook, you have rocku.txt. Will you just start using rocku.txt with Facebook? Doesn't make sense. है ना? Doesn't make sense. At least you should have some information, right? You shouldn't be shooting blind arrows. मतलब कि आपको इधर उधर कुछ भी मत करते रहो, right? At least have a vision कि क्या करना है ना? So what I'm saying, Shaf, is, yeah, unmute yourself. Yeah, have a conversation. बताओ क्या हुआ? Yeah, so you're thinking that. So what is your question exactly? Should we start with SSH or why shouldn't we start with SSH? देखो, how many possibilities will be there? There will be endless possibilities, right? If you have no idea what kind of credentials are used, okay, you just waste your time. So what we have to do whenever we are pen testing, we have to think smartly. Got it?
सर ऐसे तो किसी पे भी करेंगे ब्रूट फोर्स तो बहुत टाइम लेगा.
Right? It will take a lot of time. बहुत time लेगा, जैसे आकाश ने बताया. It will take a lot of time, right? Plus, see, our actions are logged. If you brute force a website, okay, let's say if we brute force a website, most of the websites do what? After 5 or 6 tries, what do? They lock us out for how many minutes? 30 minutes,
24 hours, I guess.
right? 30-40 minutes वो कर देंगे. So does that make sense? No. मैं वही बोल रहा हूँ ना, shooting blind arrows, मतलब हवा में तीर चलाने का कोई फायदा नहीं है. We should have a vision. Understood, Shah? Clear? Okay. So We have a tool, we have everything, but what will we be doing? We'll just exhaust our resources. Our CPU will be working overtime, our RAM will be working overtime, and we don't know whether it takes 1 hour, 1 day, 1 month. We don't know how much time it will take for us to brute force. Got it? Now, the other thing is HTTP. Where do we use HTTP?
सब वेबसाइट के लिए वेब ब्राउजर
or
जब भी हम
URLs.
Right? Every website is basically either on HTTP or HTTPS. So we enter a URL on our browser. It will either take us to HTTP or HTTPS, right? Right. So
Yeah.
to go to a website, do we require credentials? To go to a website, do we require?
नो सर, नो सर.
See, on the website, they might be using a login page, but we can go to a website, find out how it is working, right?
Yes sir.
Okay, so what we are going to do is I'll go to my browser, go to this IP, hit enter, and what do we have? We have a web page in front of us. Okay, now think of this website as a target. Okay, see what can you do here? Identify the components. First of all, on this website, we have some text. So from this text, we have to find out if we can gather some useful information. Other than that, what else do we have? An image,
The image and user मतलब name Morty, the help Morty.
right? So we have some text and we have some images. Well, we currently have just one image. So do you know that you can even use an image to launch an attack? So
Yes sir.
there is something called steganography, where you,
Second copy.
है ना, जहाँ पे where you hide data
We can
inside,
hide something inside the image.
right? Where we can hide something inside the image. हम image के अंदर कुछ छुपा सकते हैं.
As in like source code में कह रहे हैं आप या फिर like just image itself?
Image itself, not the source code, just the image itself.
Okay.
We can hide something inside the image as well. Okay, so since we are currently an attacker, we have to use this image and we have to analyze if anything is hidden inside it. Okay, so everything that you see on your screen is a potential target. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this image. Save image हो रही है नहीं. So what is it telling me? It is telling me to open the image in a new tab. See, like I said, who is a hacker? A hacker is a person who's inquisitive. So if I open this image in the new tab, check if there is any difference. So right now, this is the web page. And if I go to the other web page, other than the image, do you notice any difference? Image को छोड़ के, do you notice any difference?
उसमें image cropped थी, इसमें like it's full size.
Okay. What else?
Text was above it, so it means background में कुछ है.
Image is the same, I can assure you. This is the image, this is the image. This is the original image. Here the image was what?
Cropped.
It was cropped.
Okay.
This is the page, this is the other page. और कहीं पे change notice करो, other than the image.
We can
URL.
URL है ना? देखो.
Yes. Assets and
URL,
then
the IP, and यहाँ पे जो हमारा URL is IP/assets/rickandmorty.jpg. ठीक है, image तो हमें पता चल गया. The name of the image is rickandmorty.jpg. But यहाँ पे हमें एक चीज दिखी है, assets, right?
we have a directory.
We have a directory. So what happens is, if we have a website does not just contain of a web page. A website has different directories and inside every directory there will be
File.
some files. JS file, HTML, PHP, TXT, कुछ भी हो सकता है, right? So this is how it works. Got it, everyone? Did everyone understand how this works?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any doubts? Akash, Rahul, Ashish, Avinash, Kasha,
No, sir.
Clear, sir.
Bhaskar, Sharp, no doubts? All good? Okay, great. So what do we have here? We saw that there is a directory. Okay. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to save this image. I'll save this image to a new tab, a new folder. I'll make a folder and I'll call it Rick and Morty. So what you have to do is whenever you work on a lab, start documenting what you do. Okay. So जैसे मैं तो नहीं कर रहा because I have been doing this for a long time. But as a beginner, document everything. So use a tool. जैसे I use this tool called Obsidian. Okay. I use this tool, writing tool called Obsidian. You can use
मैं भी यूज करता हूँ उसे.
Obsidian ही use करते हो.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. या तो Obsidian use कर दो या तो फिर OneNote use कर दो या तो फिर EndNote use कर दो. So there are Notion is a great tool. So you can use whatever you feel like. Okay. So it's up to you जो भी आप use करना चाहते हो. Right. So use a tool and then create your notes. जैसे मैंने क्या लिखूंगा मैं I'll show you a rough draft. So found an IP, performed Nmap, found 2 ports, then under Nmap you performed another scan. Which scan did you perform? You have to write that. What is the significance of that scan? Because whenever you write a report, see, pen testing is not just technical stuff. Pen testing is 50% technical stuff, 50% documentation. See, if you completed the pen test properly, but you are not able to write the report, then you might not even get paid. I'm not kidding. So pen testing basically requires you to have good communication skills. Good communication skills ये नहीं है कि आपके मतलब you should get 8 bands on IELTS. ऐसा नहीं होता है, right? Good communication skills mean that you should be able to convey whatever you have written in a good manner, right? They should be able to understand what you have written, and what you have written be, what you have written can be understood by people who are non-technical, because when these reports are created, they go to the CTO, जो technology officer होगा for a company, then they go to the CEOs के पास भी जा सकती है, or they could go to a person from financial department, right? So what I'm saying is these reports can go to anyone. So created in such a manner that these reports can be understood properly. Got it? Okay. So this is
Yes, sir.
ठीक है. So performed कौन सा scan, फिर I performed another scan, उसकी क्या relevance थी, फिर tried opening tried opening the website so and so. So I'll show you a very good write-up that's from one of my students, Harsh Gohri. His name is Harsh Gohri. I'm going to write medium. Harsh Gohri medium. This is the guy. But है कहाँ पे इसकी? Where is this medium? This is his LinkedIn profile. Harsh Gohri. Try hack me. Yeah. Okay, so he also wrote three blogs and then he gave up. But what I'll tell you is not to give up. So this is the walkthrough of this machine. First start with Nmap Scan. We found two open ports, that is this and this. We don't have any username and password till now, so we'll go with HTTP. We'll go to this IP where we find the page hosted as follows. First thing we do is view the source code of the page. ठीक है ना? तो this is what he has done. And अगर आप लोग भी ऐसे करते, if you guys do it like this, then doesn't matter which domain you are currently working in, this will showcase your passion. And if you have blogs on websites like these, then obviously you will get a great job. I'm not kidding, right? So tried opening web. समझ आ गया ना what I'm talking about, what you have to do here. I'll just share it with you right now in the chat box. So not everything has to be added, right? You don't have to talk about all the tools or all the processes. So because you have to make your report crisp and short, right? So not everything needs to be added. Like which tools did you use? Which process did you use? Like was that successful? It did not work out for you. So highlight those details which are significant, okay, or are different from the normal. All right. So if you add those details, it will be great. Okay. So let's go back. This is what you have to do. So we found an image. We'll analyze it later on. We found a directory as well. Now let's do something. So what happens is in any field of the IT industry or the computer science industry, there are three parameters: P, R, and S. Can anyone tell me what these P, R, and S mean?
Performance, reliability, security.
Right. So what do they mean? Performance, reliability, and security. So as a developer, okay, if you are a developer, what is your main goal? To make an app that looks good, that works good, and works every time. Security is also a parameter, but most of the
CIA tricks.
most of the times developers do not focus on security, right? What do you think? As a developer, are you getting paid? आपको पैसे मिल रहे हैं क्या? Are you getting paid for securing the app as well?
No, sir.
No. Plus you have to get the job done within a specific time period. So even if you love your job, even if you're obsessed with your job, uh, you have to create an app according to the needs of the customer or what your superiors have told you. So even if you want to secure it, do it later on. There are other teams for that. So basically, a developer's job is to make the application workable, right? So that it's running properly. And that's pretty much it. So security is an overlooked concept, right? So that's why what happens is sometimes secrets are leaked. Secrets. How? So if you are working on a website and you're working in a company, so it won't be entirely your responsibility to create the website. Obviously, if you're working for a startup, then yes, you'll have to create the whole website by yourself. But if you're working in a company, there will be multiple people. So even if you are the only person working on that project, you complete the project in one day? Can you create a website in one day? Is that
No, sir.
not at all? तो उसके लिए हमें क्या करना पड़ता है? हम क्या करते हैं? We take breaks, we create checkpoints. And often when we write the source code, so for example, if I'm working on a piece of code right now, what will I do? I will write some code today, and then if I want to take a break and I want to start from tomorrow, I'll write some pointers for myself. Just say incorporate tab functionality. So I'm just taking an example. Don't worry, kya hota hai tab functionality and everything else. Add what else? Add features for creating videos. Okay, so this is what we can add in our to-do list. Okay, so what do we do whenever we are working on our code? We use comments. Okay, so these comments will help us understand what we have done so far. It will help others to understand what we have done, and it will also act as a to-do list कि कल हमने अगर कुछ करना है तो हम उस comment को पढ़ देंगे. We'll read that comment and we'll figure out what we have to do next. So whenever the app is in its production, is in its building phase, when it's being built, okay, uh, when it's getting tested, it's fine. Keep these comments. But when it's shipped to the production environment, when it is being used by millions of users all over the world, should you keep these important files? Should you keep these comments?
No sir.
What can happen?
और सर अगर हम कमेंट्स को रहने देते तो फिर कुछ सेंसिटिव इंफॉर्मेशन जो लीक हो सकती है.
Sensitive information can get leaked. Okay, so what happened was I was working on bug bounty program, right? So what happened was, they have patched this vulnerability. westernunion.atlassian.net Jira projects. Was it here? Was it here? Let me check. It is right here. So basically, although I'm not logged in, but I can go to the page source and I can actually look at sensitive information. There is something called Atlassian token. Okay, there is something called Atlassian token. I'll talk about it in the upcoming classes. But in reality, this is sensitive information. I can use it to upload whatever I want on this project dashboard. Okay. So this is a metadata. This is meta tags, which means that they are not used directly on this website. But what they should have done is they should have removed it. Otherwise, you won't see any comments. But yes, there is some sensitive information in the source code. So as the pen tester, your goal is to read the source code. Okay. You can't read the source code in one day, in a minute or two. Source code reading takes time. Analysis of source code takes
It
time.
contains username.
हाँ, username हो सकता है. देखो जैसे अब यहाँ पे when I look at the source code, यहाँ पे there is a comment. Can you read it? क्या लिखा है यहाँ पे? Note to self.
To self, remember username.
Username is Rick Rules, R1CKRUL3S, which is Rick Rules. So I'm going to copy it and I'll keep it here. I found a username. So when you are creating your report, write it. So this is sensitive information. You found this information lying around. Okay. Now, the next thing to do here is you found this. Okay. If I look at the source code again, there is another file, jquery.min.js, and where is it kept? In the assets directory.
Assets directory.
Okay, so the assets directory which we worked with a couple of minutes ago, where this image was present, there are other files as well. So if I go to assets, what will I get? I will see a lot of files here. So we worked with this file. We looked at this file, rickandmorty.jpg. There are other files as well, portal.jpg. But do you see this image on this page? No, right?
Yes.
Which means there will be another page where this website is being used. Okay. It doesn't mean that you have hacked the website that you got access to the image, but at least you are going somewhere, you are getting somewhere. Okay. Then there is this GIF image, just GIF file, right? If this file is there, it means it is being used somewhere, right? So we have to find out where it is being used. And then we have to analyze these images as well, so that we get to find out if there is any sensitive information inside them or not. Then you have a fail.gif file as well, right? Save it. What else do you have? You have CSS files. See, CSS files, obviously they are important, but not as important as others.
तो वो styles वगैरह color background.
Exactly. So whenever we work with websites basically have three components. I'm talking about the front end, जो as a user आप देखते हो अपनी आंखों के सामने, that you see in front of you. JavaScript, HTML, and,
CSS.
and a feature of HTML which is CSS. So HTML is for structuring the web page. How you get how do you give structure to your web page? That's through HTML. JS. JS is how the logic gets built. If you click on this button, if you click on the login form, how does it take you somewhere else? Okay. If you click on some item and it gives you the price, and then when you click on it and it gets put in a cart, that's all through JS. So the logic on the website, the brain on the website in the website is given through JS. CSS is for beautifying the web page, font, color, this, that, right? So JS is for the logic. So as a hacker, that as a pen tester, as a web app pen tester, JS is very important. Okay, JS is extremely important. So there will be a video that you will have to watch, and that's source code analysis. As a beginner, how can you perform source code analysis? So this is CSS. Obviously, you can attack websites through CSS as well, but that's very rare. Like I said, that extremely rare. Then you have JS files. There can be sensitive information inside these files. But tell me, in the first class ever for pen testing, don't you think it would be too difficult if you have to go through the complete source code? It will be difficult, right? So we have this, हमारे पास ये चीजें पड़ी हैं, but हम अभी नहीं इसको कर रहे हैं source code को analyze. Imagine how difficult it would be if you have to analyze the source code on your first class, right? It's like you go to
Yes.
the first time, पहली बार जा रहे हो, and they're telling you to bench press 150 kgs, right? So see, Derby, Nmap, Nikto, all of them are different, right? So can you compare something which is not, I mean, can you compare three things which are not, which have nothing in common with each other? No, right? जैसे अब यहाँ पे in the chat box I've been asked this question by Bhaskar. You cannot compare them. तीनों चीजें अलग हैं बिल्कुल, right? So let's say Akash is good in DevOps, Ashish is good in networking, Avinash is good in cloud. How do I find out who's the best? How do I find out who's the best person for data science? I can't find that out, right? समझ आ रही है मेरी बात? So all these three tools have different use cases. So we compare things on the basis of same use case, right? So if we have two cars, one is an SUV, one is a sedan, we can't compare them. Why? Because both of them have different use cases. If I have five SUVs, I can find out which one will be the best for my use case, right? So Derby is for enumeration, it's for a different purpose. Nmap is for a different purpose. Nikto is for a different purpose. Okay, I'll show you how to use them. Got it? Don't worry, I'll explain that. Okay, right now we have started with Nmap. Now we are going to use another tool. Okay, so I'll explain each and everything, which tool is better. So can we directly try to exploit someone's website, or do we have, obviously you have to take permission. So if you want to work on real world websites, you have to go to bug bounty programs. You cannot just go to your college website and start exploiting it, because obviously they'll put you in jail. I'm not kidding, right? So if you have to exploit websites, start with these labs first. Okay, do not go to any real world website and try to exploit it. That is going to be very dangerous. I'll show you. If you want to exploit real world websites, you'll have to go to bug bounty platforms like HackerOne, Bugcrowd, Integrity, and others. So we at least have something here in assets. We're not going to use it right now, but we will later on. Okay. Now, what we have to do is, this is the information that we found. But don't you think there will be other directories? This is just one directory that we were able to find by looking at the URL. Do you think that there will be other directories as well? Yes. Why is everyone so quiet? At least tell me yes or no. Do you think
Yep,
that,
absolutely, absolutely.
right? So there will be other directories, but now the question is, how do we look for them? Do we manually try to change the URL one by one? That's not possible, right? That is obviously not possible. That's going to be difficult for us. So in order to find out कि अगर कोई और directory है या नहीं है, there is one manual technique by writing robots.txt. Now, what is robots.txt? Let me show you. So if I go to google.com robots.txt, so almost all the websites, like I said, almost all the websites have this file called robots.txt. What does this do? Now, these websites, when we search for them, they appear on the search engines. Okay, they appear on the results of our search, right? These files are what? These files, these websites might be on the top of the search engine. They might be on the second page, third page, we don't know, right? So how do they appear on the results of a search on the search engine? It's because they are indexed. Okay. And how does this work? Search engines use something called crawlers. Okay. Crawlers are programs that will visit a website, okay, and try to add them on the results for a search engine. Okay. Some pages can be indexed, which means some pages can be can appear on a search engine's results. Some of them are private. For example, if you go to your profile and you go to your personal repository of photos, your iCloud photos or your Google Drive photos, should that be public? Can anyone see that? No, right? So we have to make sure that the crawlers who crawl those websites, they do not make these pages, they do not make these directories appear on the search engines. Okay. For example, if I'm buying something, should the items in my cart be visible to everyone? No, right?
No, sir.
So that's why if you look at this robots.txt file, what it does is, the first thing is user agent. What is the user agent? User agent is basically a browser. It has written star. So it means that no matter which web browser is, all of them have to follow this pattern. Allow means that these pages can be crawled by the crawlers. Disallow means that these pages cannot be crawled. They should not appear on public results. Okay. Now, User agents are browsers. Firefox, Chrome, Safari, Edge, Brave, right? Along with that, this file also considers crawlers. Crawlers are the programs that crawl the websites and try to add them to a particular search engine. So those crawlers are also being considered under the category of user agents. So allow stands for that crawling is allowed for this page. Disallow means that crawling is not allowed for this page. That's fine from the performance point of view, but as a hacker, it's a gold mine for us. Why? Because we get to see that there are so many web pages, right? There's a page called patents, there's a page called scholar, there's a page called citations, there's a page called /s, there's a page called /maps. Okay, whether we can visit it or not, that's a separate thing. But at least we got to find out these many directories and pages, right? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what does this mean? That if we visit robots.txt, we can find out the pages and the directories in a website. Got it? So this is what it means. So it's already 8 p.m. here, guys. I have my another class. So this is where we will stop today, and tomorrow we'll take it up from here. Okay, so that's going to be all for today. Do watch the videos as well. The video will be available on your portal. Which portal? Let me tell you. You go to live.nwkings.com. Okay, so go to your class, which is CH September, and then go to resources. Under this section called class recordings, you will be able to find the video. Okay, so if you want to watch it tonight, you will be able to do that. All right, everyone. So this is going to be all for today. Thank you. Bye bye.